I always love having a lovely intro and you go in and you're going spectacularly. And then you look at Streamlabs and it's like, we can't hear you. So with that being said, I'm happy you guys
we heard it all.
But apparently no one at home could hear me. So I'm not picking it up from the top because that's not how we do this. We do things live here. So we are going to be taking a look at Peglin by Red Nexus Games. This game was showing off at Seattle Indies. I want to say it was 2021, was it? Last year's?
Yeah.
And if you like roguelike games, this game is definitely something you're going to want to check out. But there's an added little twist to this game in that the combat system for this game is absolutely spectacular. So before we actually start playing the game, if you guys would like to introduce yourselves and tell the people at home who you are and what part of your expertise you brought to bring this game to life, they'll be happy to hear it.
Sounds great. So I'll start because I was the first person working on the game. My name is Dylan, and Sienna and I created the game at a game jam. So it was kind of something that was bouncing in my brain for a while. Wanted to make something kind of brick breakery, and the game jam theme was fall. So we figured, we'd flip it on its head and deal with falling things, and the bricks changed to be round for more interesting bounces. And at the end of the weekend, we had kind of a playable version of the battle system. And then Peglin has kind of grown up a lot from there. When we get to Luke, he'll kind of talk about when he jumped onto the project. But for now, I'll let Sienna say a few words.
Hi, I don't know if you can hear me. I'm gonna get closer. I'm Sienna, Dylan's girlfriend, and yeah, we were at the jam, and I think I had just started poking around in pixel art, and this has been my only pixel art experience, and it's been really fun. And yeah, we used a lot of assets, but now, well, I would say about 50-50 is my art and that. And yeah, anyway, I have a really good time. Really good time working on pixel art.
Yeah, we do a lot of kit bashing for sure. Just like modifying existing assets, making them fit our color palettes and everything. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's
Completely
interesting working on a team where some people are part-time and some people full-time.
Yes,
yeah. Anyway, I'll pass it on to Luke. It was way longer than I meant to
go. My name is Luke, or Lucas. It's the same. I'm a developer on Peglin. I mainly deal with the nuts and bolts of the whole thing. I've been working on this since around the time the pandemic started, more or less, if I remember correctly. So early-ish 2020. I knew Dylan through the local game development community. We worked together at a company for a while, and in early 2020 I was out of a job. So I knew that he had this prototype. I knew that he wanted to keep working on it, so I approached him and we started talking. And I was working on it for a while. I started working on it full-time pretty much during the pandemic, and since I had to eat, I was forced to find another job. But I've been working on it part-time since then, and it's been quite a pleasant experience. It's been really rewarding to see something that you help build from the ground up get as popular as it's been so far. It's been super rewarding. It's been really fun to see all the reactions and see how people like it.
My name's Adam. I go online by Crashdroid. That's like my handle on pretty much every website. And I've been bringing music to Peglin. I think I started working on Peglin, like almost a year ago? I can't remember, and I'm not going to go check the Discord chat logs to figure out when Dylan was like, yes, you can help me. Yeah. So I think my first contact with like game development as a whole, like the first game jam I had ever visited, which was back in like grade 10, so upwards of like 7 years ago. Dylan was actually, I don't know if you were hosting or if you were just volunteering, but you were there and you were my first like contact with game development as a whole, I can remember. And so I think we've just kept up, and you've kind of been there like watching me evolve from the kid who was like, you know, sitting in the corner like, hey, do you guys need music? Do you need music for your game? And now I can actually write music with some level of competence. And you know, Dylan and I worked on a game jam project. Was it Global Game Jam that we did?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, Global Game Jam. And you know, after working with him, we were just kind of bouncing around the idea of adding a couple tracks to Peglin to round things out. And I was like, well, why don't we just do it from the ground up so that Peglin has like a, you know, fully realized musical identity? And from there, it's just history. I've been working on it since. I've been working on it part-time since I've also been going to school at the same time.
Yeah. At the time we were using royalty-free music, and it was pretty solid. I quite enjoyed it. The problem is that other indie games were also using the same royalty-free music, and because they got to it first, people would hop into our like YouTube comments and like, you know, accuse us of like, you stole this game's music. It's like, no, they stole it from us just first.
So that's a really interesting kind of thing about this, because you all mentioned that this kind of came together at a Global Game Jam, and I've gotten to do a couple of things with Global Game Jam. I got to host one. I got to be on then. I got to watch the announce stream for another, and I got to interview an FBI agent for the Cultural Heritage Game Jam, which was that whole sentence seems weird, but it's cool.
Yeah.
Kind of getting to see how, because most of us as gamers kind of see games as a finished product, and it's, you know, it just kind of shows up at your doorstep. But we're also acutely aware that there are developers that kind of go into it, and to think that a game of this level kind of came out of a game jam is truly spectacular to me, because I mean, for the most part, it was 4 of you. The 4 of you have made this spectacular game, and you know, you look at the amount of creativity that kind of goes into this, especially with the battle system, which we're going to be getting to shortly, because I can hear the music in the background. And I'm itching. But just everything down from the music to just the gameplay to, of course, the pixel art are all things that I think makes this game very unique. When I was building the overlay for this, I was initially kind of trying to put together something that I thought would kind of complement the game. And, you know, I had a couple of logos and things like that. And then I happened across the GIF of our protagonist just kind of happily kind of bouncing around. And I was like, that's I don't know how yet, but that's going on the overlay. And as you see below us, he's just kind of sitting there vibing and hanging out. I'm going to have questions for each of you at different points as we're playing, because each of you kind of touched on one of the things that I think makes this game really unique. But before I feel like at this point, I'm getting tired of waiting. I'm sure the people at home are getting tired of waiting. So I am going to launch the game.
Sounds great. Let's get to it.
All right. So,
and if anyone is joining from the Peglin community, you might have noticed that the version we're playing on is 0.7.1 now, so pretty big step up. The mines aren't fully complete just yet, but they're just about there. And so fingers crossed that this like experimental build doesn't blow up on us. We've all done a little bit of testing at this point, but like with these big changes, you never know. We'll see.
I mean, if it does explode, I mean, the best place to have it explode is live.
Always. All right,
so
engaging.
It's always entertaining content. So as I'm going through and kind of poorly doing this, because I totally should have shot that in a different direction. Tell me a little bit about, tell the people at home a little bit about the battle system and how you kind of came up with this idea for it. Because you mentioned that there were, you know, the theme was fall, but I want to know how you kind of got to where it got to. Are you serious? Okay, I don't want to talk about it. So tell me a little bit about how you got to this battle system.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, the interesting thing, and I can actually share it in the Twitch chat, but we actually had like the battle system as it exists kind of at the end of like the original game jam, the original 48-hour period. It was all kind of just like there, but very, very rough. And it's just exactly like I said. I just kind of wanted something that was very brick breakery. I just wanted to like pop things and like make numbers go bigger, and just like it's a very nice target for a game jam, because like making a number go bigger is pretty simple. Getting some basic physics in is pretty simple. So combining them and doing things with it, that's like a nice minimum viable product that you can come out with at the end of like 48 hours, instead of trying to make like, a super immersive FPS with these elements. Like you really have to go all the way, or you've got nothing. Whereas with this, it's like, even if we didn't get the battle system in time, we still had bouncing a ball around and building up points, and like that's still a game, and it worked out pretty well. And it was only like during the jam we kind of thought that it was going to be more of like a puzzle quest game, make an RPG out of it. But as we continued to like tinker with it after that first jam, we realized that like a roguelike is really going to give us way more flexibility. And we were kind of chatting before the stream went live about some of the relics in the game that are just overpowered and broken. It's like, okay, well, do we need to fix them? It's like, well, not really. It's a single player game, and each run only takes like an hour. So if a player gets a couple of these really overpowered relics in one run and rolls right through the game, it doesn't matter too much. It's not a big 40-hour RPG where they've just like gotten super overpowered and then the rest of the game is trivial and boring. Now you can just start a new run and hope that you get half as lucky on your next run.
So I'm taking a little bit of time before selecting these orbs, because I didn't want this to be something that gets missed. But Lucas, tell me a little bit about this system of how you kind of select different orbs. Like what did you have to go into do to kind of figure out what orbs to offer at different points of the game? And is there anything that kind of weights certain offerings against other ones as the player's kind of progressing?
Actually, right now, correct me if I'm wrong, Dylan, I don't think there's anything weighing the orbs. We have a system for relics, for rarity of relics, but orbs in particular, they don't have a system in place. I believe we have plans for it, but I can't speak to actual certainty. I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, right now everything is just pulled out of one pool, and that's because there's only something like 20 orbs total in the game. Like they get added much slower than relics, because they generally are a lot more involved, and there's a lot more moving pieces to make them feel unique and interesting. But we do have plans for sure to split those up into like at least a bit of rarities later on. Yeah, because some of them are just noticeably more powerful.
Yeah, we do have also we do have a rarity system for relics, though that's definitely in place. But also relics are not offered at the end of battles for the most part, only in elite battles. So it's a little easier to manage.
Now, if you've ever played a roguelike, if you're in chat and you've ever played a roguelike, you know that there's a certain amount of risk versus reward, because in some instances you want to take fights where you're going to get a guaranteed outcome from it, like some of the standard fights. But I don't know about you guys, but for me, the allure of a question mark for me is very, very difficult to ignore. What kind of went into coming up with the idea of kind of what to place along each map, and are there any things that you added in that you kind of hope players get to see that are kind of hidden in question mark encounters?
There's such a limited pool of encounters at this point that like you'll see a lot of them after a few playthroughs. Like I think there's like 13 for each map now, with a little bit of overlap between them. That's definitely where some of the most interesting content is, but we've tried to balance it so that like you do kind of need to go to battles in between to make sure you're powerful enough to reach those future areas. Gotcha. And then if you ask our community, especially, like right now a lot of the Peglin events are a little more punishing than some other roguelikes. There's a lot of like health loss and like other trade-offs, because we don't have a currency system in place yet. So like we really only have a few resources that we can play with in those. Gotcha. So as a message to our community, like we will ease off on eating your health alive in a little bit. I also see a few questions in the chat about a mobile release, and that's definitely in the cards. We'll get it out in some form. We're focusing on PC and then consoles first, just because it's so much easier for like an indie team to make like a premium game that's fair to the player. You know, like we're going to launch the game for $20 in early access, and then that's it. Like we're not going to have any DLC, I'm pretty sure. Definitely no microtransactions, no NFT bullshit or anything like that. It's $20 one time, you own the game. And that's way harder to do on mobile. Like if you want to like release a game on mobile and you're not just like getting people that love the game on PC to buy it again for a little bit cheaper, then like you have to have in-app purchases and microtransactions. We just didn't want to design the game around that at all. So yeah, the mobile release will come for sure, but it'll be coming to like mobile consoles first, like the Switch and the Steam Deck and everything.
Yeah.
Peglin on
I
Switch.
can tell you that I have a build of it running the Steam Deck, and it's been the main way I've been playing the game lately, and it's pretty good.
Nice. Now, you mentioned that you know, we're gonna make some of these question marks less punishing, and so now I'm a little bit more hesitant to click embrace the lightning because I feel like that. I mean, you know, what's the worst that could happen?
If it's not colored in red, then it's not real bad. You'll be okay.
Gotcha.
Yeah, you'll be okay with this one.
Ball
I think
lightning
this is
level
one
2.
of the better ones.
All right. So you said that you really have to take some fights. I am feeling like living just a little bit dangerously. So I'm gonna go to this next question mark, and if I run into trouble, crap. Okay. All right. So one of the things
You
I
do
think
have
really...
like one of the better relics in the game right now. The Suffer the Sling really like buffs up all of your stones and just makes you overall more powerful.
Nice.
So you could probably take on Elite Fight without taking too much punishment at this point.
I'm really happy you said that because I was taking on the Elite Fight regardless. But so one of the things that I really dig about this game is the different musical styles. And Crash, you mentioned that you wanted this game to have its own unique musical identity. How did you go about kind of creating the sound of Peglin?
I think the first move that I made was deciding on the marimba as like the thematic instrument for Peglin, just because I was kind of imagining like what happens if you drop an object down into the pachinko machine and all of the little pegs make noises when you hit them. You know, what if we attributed sounds to that? And the marimba just kind of fit when I ran through that. So you know, that was like how I wrote the first like melody, the first line. And then from there, I think I had just purchased like an instrument library that was a lot of like realistic sampled instruments instead of like the usual synth-filled stuff that I usually work with. So I was just kind of throwing things together and experimenting, and I landed on like, you know, a really nice upright bass and a couple like plucked strings and some pianos, and everything just kind of meshed really well together with the whole like chorus theme. I've heard a lot about Crash Bandicoot being a particular inspiration, and if my name isn't any more of an indication, it's definitely been a large inspiration. Wow. Yeah, but other than that, Peglin has just kind of been me accessing the art assets that Sienna has worked on and kind of playing the game myself, seeing how the game feels and understanding like the kind of feeling of each area, like the emotions that it kind of conveys, and then just doing my best to give it some kind of music to tie it through.
So one of the things, like I said, when I was working on the overlays for this, I had to have the game kind of up. And often what I would do is just take a screen cap of like the title screen or the combat screen or the map so I can bring that into whatever I'm using to build the overlay. But I found myself kind of missing the music when I did that. So I cannot explain to you how much this was just up in the background while I was working on things. The funny part about that is that I had to do a presentation for work and forgot that I was sharing my desktop, like my screen, and not the specific app. So I'm talking about some stuff, and I kind of look up into the video call and I see a couple people. I'm like, what Bob in there? Oh no! So if it's any consolation, some random people also got to hear the music and no one complained about it, which is always good.
That's fantastic.
I'm okay. I said I was gonna. No. Not the.
You can't give up the free chest. That's too juicy.
No, I gotta go for the elite, man. It's big and it's got a skull, and I gotta see how good these orbs are.
Fair enough.
That's fair. Yeah.
Go big or go
You do
home,
like
you know?
snowball pretty quickly once you're able to start collecting elite relics. It's been really interesting balancing into all three areas. And a little bit of a challenge, but I don't know, it's feeling pretty fun.
So
it's
usually
part
I
of the
don't
fun,
have any
right?
regrets, but for 110 health enemies. I'm starting to feel a little bit of regret here. So one of the things about this game that another one of the things about this game that I really dig, I almost one-shot him. Tell me a little bit more about this art style, because it's one of those things that can't be taken for granted in a game like this, because you tell a lot of your story through narrative. You know, there will be some text that you also explain as well, but just tell me a little bit about how you kind of went about designing each of these characters. We can start with El Protagonist, because he's adorable and he's my favorite person to watch.
Yeah, so it actually, the whole theme came from an asset pack that Dylan grabbed the morning of the jam, and it was this adorable little goblin. You can see it in the link that Dylan posted from our original jam game. And I thought, wow, goblin protagonist, that's a thing. And it's actually becoming more of a thing, which is really cool. A lot of goblin protagonists. Anyway, he was so cute. I redid him a little bit to give him more of a protagonist vibe, because the other one was definitely intended to be a little fodder enemy. And so, yeah, we just went with the goblin, and wanted him running around the forest in different places. And I didn't really have a lot of plan or artistic thoughts behind the game, aside from I want to make it a cute game. Because a lot of my motivation to play games is do I think it's cute, and am I enjoying looking at the game. And I always find pixel art really charming, so because that was also the asset pack that we started with, we went with it. I really enjoy it. I don't think a day goes by though that you and Lucas don't regret us going with pixel art. I'm sure I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, there's definitely a few different parts to that. Like, aesthetically, I think pixel art is perfect, especially like cute pixel art, because people still kind of associate a lot of pixel art games with, like, you know, Nintendo hard, like that older style of difficulty. But because we've made it kind of cuter, it kind of matches that kind of genre combination that we have of, like, here's this roguelike, it is going to kill you, that's okay, try again, and, like, you know, the friendlier aspects of, like, Pachinko, especially as you get into the later levels, where, like, I was talking about how the balancing can be quite difficult, because you'll be hitting for, like, 8,000 damage. You know, you're just getting these crazy Pachinko mechanics that, like, would never happen in a typical RPG, where it's like you swing the sword and your damage range is like 50 to 80. It's like, no, if you bounce this ball well enough, if you get some crazy explosions going, there's, like, effectively no limit to the damage. Pretty cool. So the art style really, you know, encapsulates that combination. But when it comes to the actual, like, physics and everything, that's where we have some regrets doing a pixel art, because, you know, our little pegs are like 10 by 10, so they're still very boxy. But in the physics engine, in the simulation, like, they're perfect circles, because it's not fun bouncing off of all these weird boxes. So there's just a bit of, like, visual discrepancy. And there's a couple of things that we do to kind of sand the edges off of that. Like, you'll notice that, like, your prediction indicator is a perfect circle, and you can see it wrapping around a perfect circle. So it kind of gives you a better indication of, like, if I hit this, I roughly know which direction it's going to go. But yeah, if I had to choose, like, to do it all over again, or, like, if we're lucky enough to, like, not go broke from making this game and make a Peglin 2, then we'll be using vector art, just for the ability to, like, resize things and have things match the physics exactly.
Yeah.
Things like that.
Yeah. Also, long pegs is another element that if you notice, it's not really done with pixels. That's actually, like, 3D meshes that are generated. It was a little too complicated to make it look exactly, to generate those using pixel art with the tools that we have available. So we decided to go that route.
We tried a few times, and it felt really janky when you were, like, sliding down this, like, pixelated blocky thing. And
so there's another couple of reasons why pixel art, especially in Unity, is kind of complicated unless you are really you're planning for it every step of the way, and you don't deviate at any step. If you make any missteps, it's really, really hard to work around it. It's one of those things you have to do it specifically from the very start. So it's kind of the consequence of using a 3D engine like Unity to do the art. So vector art doesn't have that problem and that's why it would be much easier down the line to maintain a project like this.
Definitely,
But we made the game with pixel art, and that's the aesthetic that people are there for. So we are going to keep it that way. That's not going to change.
That works.
for sure. Also, Alchemist, I did not make this relic for you. This is literally the first relic that was ever put in the game, but it's yours now. You can have it. This is your quick.
So I looked at this relic, and this relic looks really good because it gives me 4 places that I can crit per, every time the pegs refresh. And I was like, this is a really great relic. I want to see what the other one is. I feel like if I do not take this relic, chat will never let me live it down.
That'd be bad luck for sure.
So
the Pachinko way will fail you.
I'm just gonna have to go
hardly
and
call this a choice.
Yeah, it's So that's twice now that that's happened, so I feel like it's a good time to bring up. Tell me about how you guys kind of came up with the idea to choose your different paths, because in most games like this, when you kind of choose a direction to go, it's usually very, very linear. If you think of a game, there's a card-based game that has a similar kind of branching path thing, and it's really just click one or the other. There's no randomness to it. But there have been times when I've been playing this where like the stage select was kind of filled with pegs and I wasn't really paying as much attention as I probably should have. And I shot a peg over because I really needed to not go to a fight, because I think I had at the time 2 HP, like 1, 2. And I was like, that fight's I'm gonna go to the chest. There's no chance of me boom into the fight. So what kind of brought about the idea to kind of add that concept in?
Yeah, so in the first kind of versions, when we started making this a roguelike, you did just like click to decide where you wanted to go. And it was fine, it was functional. And then I played Round Guard, another Seattle game. And, they had this navigation at the end of the battle where you had to bounce your way through and you choose which way you wanted to go. And I shamelessly stole it from them. And thankfully, the developers there are just super, super nice. And, we were able to kind of chat about it a little bit and talk about what problems they had run into making a similar style of game. But yeah, they solved that problem really, really well. And then we adapted that and brought it over here. And it's interesting because it's easily the most hated feature, I would say. But streamers and YouTubers, you get the best reactions from when they're trying to navigate, and it's just bouncing around everywhere but the place where they're trying to go. And there's times where you're trying to go grab a chest or something, and then you're thrown into a battle. And that little bit of unpredictability just makes that run a little more interesting. So it's not going anywhere. This is one of my favorite features, even if it's purely sadistic.
Yeah, and also there's some skill attached to it, because the more pegs you hit, the pegs that you hit during the battle won't be there when it's time to navigate. So
exactly, yeah.
So if you beat the battle too quickly or you abuse bombs, you have a little more difficulty when it's time to navigate.
You're seeing this, right? Now, it doesn't matter here because it's 2 chests. But I need you to know, I have said this while playing this game myself. I said this when I was doing research for this, and all those times I just said it into the ether. And now I can actually say it directly to the people who matter. I would like to file a complaint.
It's thematic.
These ones we go a little harder on because they're static. So and our physics system is totally deterministic. So once you find a shot that will take you in a particular direction, that shot will always take you in that direction. So some of them look really, really rude when you first see them. But once you know that if I aim at this peg on the left, it will actually take me to the right, you can do that reliably 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. So they're kind of just little puzzles that once you've solved them, and you can learn them as you go through the game. I agree that they look very rude, though, so that's the worst one.
Honestly, the navigation is one of my favorite aspects of the game. Bar none. It communicates so much personality, and it just and this is mostly to bring Dylan up here. His skill to like tell little stories with the pegboards has really flourished, and it's been really great to see every time I play and every time a new one comes up. There's because that one right there was specifically because you are wading in slime or you're wading in mud, so it's a little bit to communicate what Peglin is going through at that point.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, and it's interesting that like the demo has been played so many times now, and it's just the forest, but our peg layouts get like so much better into the later parts of the game, because I think each area kind of has its own little gimmicks. So I'm hoping that like on this stream, especially with a 2-hour stream, we should be able to kind of really dive into some of those later areas. But yeah, I am super happy with some of the peg layouts that we have in the castle and the mines. Like just, sadistic to the strength all the way.
I think we really leaned into what makes it took a while for us at first to find what kind of layouts were fun. But once we dialed those down, it was kind of crazy. Like the real fun layouts are actually really amazing.
I'd say it's pretty hard to find a layout that's not a lot of fun. As someone who's not really involved at all with the actual design of any of the maps or the physics or anything, I can tell you that like playing the demo over and over as new things are released, every single time I came across a new map layout, I was kind of like that new like fresh sense of like wonder kicks in again. You know, like when you discover a new enemy in a different game, or all of a sudden you're in a different environment. Like those peg layouts are definitely, I think, where the game shines its absolute best in terms of like ingenuity. There's some mechanics in there in like the later stages that I will not talk about because I'm sure it'd be way cooler to see them, but like blows my mind every time.
Yeah, it's been really good to see, and as someone who like I'm honestly not that I'm more in the nuts and bolts of the game, so I'm not that involved into the actual like layout mechanics or not in none of the layout design. It's also been super nice to see how it's been evolving throughout the lifetime of the game. Nice shot, by the way. Maybe it's a little bit late.
It countered the previous shot where it just boom. Coming back? No? Okay. Also, I didn't realize that bat was that fast. I was like, yeah, I got plenty of wooies right there.
Yeah. They got faster.
Significantly.
They used to be this fast.
Alright, so
the bats and some eldritch enemies are gonna chase you down pretty quickly.
I do not like being chased down.
Yeah, it's kind of going back to the peg layouts a bit, like something you don't really think about when it comes to like game design and like and level design and stuff like that. It's like it's really a skill that I had to like brush up on, and you're kind of making some of these stages and some of the earlier ones like were before we've even really locked in the physics, and so they're kind of made like just with us throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what's stuck. And there's been a lot of layouts that we've just like completely deleted and just like, this wasn't that fun, or just didn't work with the way that the physics worked in this latest iteration. So just get rid of it or repurpose it into something else. But yeah, it was really something that like, I had to work at and like experiment a lot. And just like, we found out that like the denser layouts are generally more fun. Like you have to find like that right level of density. And things like just corridors where you don't want the ball to be able to fall straight down. Just kind of things that like you really have to work at, like what are the angles that will cause like neat pachinko bounces like that, Yeah, it's been interesting for sure.
Cooperate.
And yeah, Ziff, this includes all 3 areas actually. The mines, I could mention it a little bit earlier. The mines doesn't have a boss yet. But we've started doing like balance testing on the regular encounters and some of the mini bosses, and it's coming along.
No.
Really good.
My reaction was that you got 2 of the mini games in a row, and that's like pretty exceedingly rare, I would say.
Yeah, it's like. Huh.
I'm not gonna say streamer luck because then now I'm fighting him right before the boss. But okay, I'm going to focus a little bit. So if there's any other things you'd like to bring up while I try very hard not to have my tiny goblin behind handed to me, now would be an excellent time.
for one thing, I'm catching chat a couple times asking about a soundtrack release, and I can assure you that there will be a soundtrack release. We're still figuring out exactly where it's going to be. I'm pretty close to 100% sure there will be a soundtrack available on Steam, so if you want, you can pick it up with the game. We're probably going to look at that a little bit later on. And then you can find a couple of the tracks right now on newgrounds.com under my username, Crashdroid. They've kind of been sat there because the Newgrounds community has been really supportive and really excited about the music. So I've been treating them with keeping this stuff over there. And then I think Bandcamp would also be another strong contender of where you could find the music for Peglin. Yeah, I can't really tell you when it'll be, but it's definitely coming. Keep an eye on it.
Yeah, for us, just as a quick aside, like, you know, I think like the musicians should always keep the rights to the game soundtracks that they make beyond like being able to sell that to another game immediately. So yeah, like we've discussed having the soundtrack on Steam along with the game. Probably make a bundle for it at some point when everything is done and a little, the early access release is stable and nothing is exploding anymore. But everything else, like that's totally on Adam. He can put it wherever he wants and sell it for $400 each.
One way I'm sitting here on Twitter praising Rednex's studios over and over because they have freedom. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I would probably get a copy of it for sure.
I definitely will. I know I will get a copy of it, and
so glad to hear that.
And I'm certain I will be listening to it while I'm working, and hopefully I'll remember to actually turn off the music before a meeting next time. All right, chat.
I do have to say that, like, often on the longer game projects, you start to like hate the game's music. Like, it's just like, you've just heard it so many times, and you're always testing, and you might not start muted on like certain builds and whatnot. So you just get used to just like droning in your head. Like the last game that I worked on, I can still just like hear it in my brain. And in Peglin, it's still like this nice, like soothing noise in there. So we'll see if that changes, but it's been like a year and a half, so I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah,
year and a half. I thought I was on this team for a year.
Might have been a year.
Things go fast.
All right, chat.
We're finally almost there.
Yeah, but I'm at a crossroads here, because on one side, the intelligent thing is to heal before a boss fight. But the greedy little goblin in me is like, but you could upgrade an orb. I don't know if my decision making can be trusted here, so I'm gonna leave it to you guys.
What boss do you have coming up? That'll change the decision.
I think you can check in the map.
Yeah, if you open the map and then scroll to the bottom.
Yep. So there's a bit of a delay, chat. So because I'm not sharing the game live, there's a bit of a delay. So you guys saw the map came up and you see what looks like a seal down here, but it takes a moment for them to kind of decide or to see what fate awaits them.
Sounds like upgrade is pretty definitive in chat.
Yeah. It seems like chat has decided. All right, chat. Well, I hope you write something nice in my obituary.
It's not damage, it's not a real upgrade, I'm telling you.
Let's see. You don't need help, just kill fast. That's okay. Echo Chamber. All attacks deal 10% of the previous attack's damage is bonus damage. Yeah, that's I'm going with that. That seems like a good idea. And I said this is a seal, it might be a mole. I may be incorrect. We're going to find out in about 5 seconds. That is 100% a mole. And a tree. What is the tree? Okay.
So astute Peglin players watching the chat will notice that the single navigation has been expanded to 3 slots now. In the third area, there's some things that really get in the way of that like single slot navigation, and so I finally caved in. That is right here. Sif is right. You want to target the mole right away, especially with your lightning moves.
Dylan, you might want to take note of what Shredstick said in chat. Called it an orbituary. That's got to be some kind of mechanical.
There you go. You have to make a new orb now.
Shredstick never lets me down. All right. So, all right. All right. Here we go. Also, I love the music in this. Okay, that could have been worse. I love the boss music though, because the boss music here is it kind of gives you that. Oh, come on, one more time. Yeah. I know that I lose 15 damage whenever I do that, but just so talk to me a little bit about the decision of, sir, you are extremely close. I need you to back all the way up. Personal space, sir. Personal space. 6 feet. COVID. Something. Don't touch me.
Not too bad.
That really bounced that. That wasn't horrible. Okay. I said it wasn't horrible. I'm starting to freak out. How does that keep happening? How am I that lucky? Alright, we can do this. Yeah, that side. Yep, come on. Yeah, buddy. That should be a good amount of damage. I think that'll do.
Yeah, I think your loadout is pretty good for this fight.
A lot of targeted orbs are very, very good counter.
Yeah, and bomb generation.
And bombs are great too, yeah. This
So
is
when
like
I was
perfect mole
perfect mole killing recipe. So when I was going to select this next relic, I saw that, the relic I had, 7% chance to refresh into bombs, but deals minus 15 damage. And the next one, bombs clear nearby pegs when detonated. When it comes to creating different relics, how much do you guys really get to test each of those combinations? Because I know there are times where you go, this is really cool, and then like there's a thing that you forgot about that you made in the first build of the game that when combined with said new item just turns my small green friend here into a blender. So how do you kind of go about kind of learning to balance those things?
Yeah, we don't really know what balance is yet. The other day, with a combination of 2 items in a totally non-modded build, I did 52,000 damage. So with one shot, not including bombs. So there's still some balancing that needs to be ironed out. And that's one of the big reasons that we're bringing the game to early access. We really want just lots of players' eyes on, lots of data that we can look at and figure out what is going to be too broken, what is weak and not fun enough. But yeah, when it comes to how we kind of create that content, most of the time at this point, it was different earlier in the game's life cycle, but most of the time at this point, I'm specifically looking to create things that will have synergy with other things. It's just the powder and the Alchemist Cookbook actually came together roughly the same time, but we've just recently released a whole new suite of bomb relics. Just here's more bombs on the board when you start. Here's something that's going to create bombs for you throughout the fight. Here's another thing that's going to double the amount of bombs. Just really putting in ways. I think you saw a bomb orb earlier that creates bombs as it's bouncing around.
Mm-hmm.
So just lots of different things to combine with each other and feel really fun, because that's the core of what Peglin is supposed to be. Is by the halfway through the second area, I want to just have this juggernaut of weird relics that makes it whatever I'm doing right now completely unique. It's just you might never run into this exact combination again, but you've just got so much synergy that it's just you're a monster. You're this tiny little green monster.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to shy away from potentially game-breaking builds. We just probably want to tweak the chance of that happening, so that you're not shoehorned into always picking the same stuff every time.
Exactly, 100%.
So we need to go back, because you kind of glossed 52,000. Listen.
I saw it.
I heard all of the stuff, and it's one of those things that I know that when in games like this, finding ways to balance relics are important, because you don't want it to be that it's just everyone's looking for this one thing to keep playing over and over again.
Yeah.
But you can't just slide in 52k damage with a single shot in the middle of an explanation and not expect me to come back to that. I was happy that I dealt 200 at once.
Yeah, so like once you take a boss relic and we get into the second area, you'll definitely see your damage per shot start to creep up, and like 300, 400 per shot is going to start to be more normal. And then because we have combinations that synergize together and like are multiplicative, or in this case exponential, you start to get combinations that are really crazy. And so I did nerf a few of the different pieces of that, because I still want it to be possible. I still want you to be able to like pick it up and deal like a crazy amount of damage. And that same shot now would probably still do 15,000 damage, which is more health than anything has in the game. I just don't want those individual pieces to always be like, I must have this because it's the only way to like combo into these crazy things. Yeah. So yeah, there's lots of balancing going on all the time right now. And the first couple of months in early access for sure are just going to be like pretty chaotic. So it's kind of something that we're kind of warning players about a little bit. It's like, you know, it's early access, things are going to change. I'm not going to like claw all of the power back, but things are going to get nerfed while other things get buffed. But yeah, the Orbsium that you had there, and I think you've got one in your deck as well, that combined with something called the Kritsomalos Fleece, which is the golden fleece from Greek mythology. It lets you crit multiple times, and if you get like level 3 of one of these things, of the Orbsium, you end up triggering a crit like 6 times, and it just like exponentially increases your damage, and you get into the tens of thousands.
Yeah. I do have to say that, even with all the tweaks that we've been doing, this is the most fun the game has been so far. So, like, even if we tend to balance things and some things get nerfed, some things get buffed, things get changed. The trajectory that the game has been taking, and as someone who's been there from pretty much the beginning, the trajectory the game has been upwards in terms of fun. The game's way more fun than it was like even 3-4 months ago.
Chat, there's no way I wasn't going to take something that create more orbs. So Sif, I'm 100% took that. And chat, I know it might seem like there is a decision to be made on this boss relic. There isn't. I read the first one and I went, that's kind of cool. I saw Sealed Conviction, that's cool. I didn't even read all the way through the description of this. I saw a picture of a bomb, and my goblin brain went, I have 2 other things that do bomb. Bomb plus bomb plus bomb has to equal good. So yeah, we're taking this. I was just waiting to finish the description. I know that it also deals 5 damage to me, but listen, progress involves risk. Okay, chat, you cannot steal second base by keeping your foot on first, especially if you put C4 under first base. So we're gonna go ahead and take that. Forest, go.
Just make sure you pick up every single healing option you see from now on, and you might just make it to the end.
Yeah, this might be a little risky with your loadout because you make so many new bombs, but
nothing has killed me more in this game than testing this out.
Dylan, I know
it's a really good relic.
I know we haven't known each other for very long, but in the little bit of time that we've known each other, what makes you think that I understand the concept of caution at all? I appreciate you having that much faith in me, but I'm going to blow up everything.
As long as you take a healing option, then you might be okay. We'll find out.
I will attempt to. But Operation Goblin Bang Bang Splody Pow begins right now. So those bombs are red too. I just looked at how much health they have. He's very fast. Sir, I'm gonna need you to know.
I love these little enemies. They're some of my favorite.
Actually, you know what, gentlemen? You just stay right there. I got just.
I'm scared.
He is.
I know we're a few seconds behind, but I'm scared.
He is very close.
Oof.
That way. Excuse me. How much damage did I just take? Wait, whoa, go back. How much damage did I just take from that?
Oh wow. Yeah, you're gonna wanna heal. But hey,
Did I take 30 from that?
You popped 6 bombs in that shot.
But then 6 bombs is like
So it's 5 damage per bomb.
5 damage per bomb, yeah.
But then you did 900 damage with those bombs alone. So
True. I may have.
You see, the thing about the boss relics is we want them all to have like pretty serious downsides, so that they either make it feel, or maybe not necessarily downsides, because some of them are just positive but weird. We want it to make it feel almost like you're playing a different game, so that like you can take it occasionally and like just really expand that possibility space. You know, it's not just like this thing deals double damage. It's a part of that, but it's also just like now you have to be very careful. Killing enemies is not going to be like your challenge on this run. This run now is about not just self-destructing yourself to oblivion, which I have done so many times. And yeah, some of the other boss relics are just kind of like your orbs will do essentially no damage, but every peg that you hit like gets +1/+1. So now you're playing like this weird building game instead. Others are like the pegs are unpoppable, so every single peg layout is just completely different and kind of terrible sometimes. But other times you can do thousands of damage.
I was gonna say that relic has probably given us the most trouble in the history of the game.
It's gotten a lot better now that we've made durable
definitely.
like its own thing. But I agree that like, oh man, back in the day, that relic was so troublesome.
So I just asking for a friend. If I were to accidentally hit a bomb in between levels, I wouldn't take damage from that, right?
No, you can't.
Good.
Only if they're thrown. Eventually, I want them to like burst like fireworks, like at the end of Mario. But we're a long ways off from like frivolous, fancy, nice features. We gotta finish the game first.
Sienna's in the background thinking about scope creep. She's just like, oh.
No, she was watching all the bombs going off and thanking the lucky stars that they don't damage you during navigation.
That's why I had to ask. In the spirit of experimentation, I was 100% willing to do it. But there comes a moment when you're like, there's a tiny knight. There comes a point when you kind of realize, like, this might not go real well. Hello, beautiful. How are you? Don't leave. Come back.
I really like this level as an introduction to moving pegs.
Yeah, it's a good easy level for sure.
Yeah.
You say that. I'm going to hit a bunch of bombs.
Yeah, well, it's like the theme of your quote-unquote deck now. Is now
It's a very large rock.
at least. Yeah, I guess with like one of those. So I guess one more. Oh wow, nice.
Oh, come on.
Lightning
No,
orbs plus the bombs scare me.
Just one. We keeping count. Anyone keeping count, chat, about how many times I'm hitting? Okay, just. Obviously, I miscalculated a few things. This idea was sound when I selected it. Like, I feel like I had a good idea when I selected it. I just didn't read the fine print very well.
I think you're doing fine.
All you
I
need
think
is a
you're
healing option, and you'll be golden. I'm feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, I feel pretty good.
When I introduced this specifically, there was a feature that was being requested like for a very long time, and I just kept on being like, and the feature was if I throw a bunch of bombs and they kill the enemies, but I've done it with a healing orb, I don't get my heal, and that kind of sucks. And I was like, listen, I know that sucks, but I'm not going to change the entire like core state machine of battle to like try and make this work, because that's just gonna like rip into a ton of different bugs and like make things terrible. And then I introduced this and I was like, okay, I guess I'm getting right into the state machine of battle and we're ripping everything apart because I've just self-destructed myself 10 times in a row and I need some healing.
Oh, okay. We have officially lost captain pressure. Oh, okay. Okay. Everything's fine. This is fine. This is fine. Everything's fine. How many bombs did I hit? I didn't keep track.
Yeah, this is when the game. I think this is when the peg layouts really hit the stride at this point. Like they start to become a lot more fun and a lot more unique.
You got it.
Yeah.
You've come this
There you
far.
go. More bomb generation now.
Although Nosferatu is a healing option, so.
Oh, there you go.
Heals you and damage starts.
Also, I want to place the blame squarely on Dylan for all the puns. That's just how he is in real life.
So I know it's a healing item, but this time I'm reading the fine print. And Dylan, I appreciate you telling me that this is a healing item, but that says deals 15 damage to self when fired. So that means
You gotta
just
risk
to
it.
launch
You
this.
gotta risk it for the biscuit.
If I'm gonna risk it for the biscuit's gonna go boom. At least that way I know I'm going out in a blaze of glory, mostly.
That's fair. Yeah, see, we had to counter the Nosferatu because it doesn't go away like the other healing item does. The other healing item, you can only use it once per battle. But because it's so easy to hit like 40 pegs in a turn relatively, we were just having the people like fully healing every time. And so with the Nosferatu, that's kind of the idea, is that like, yes, you will get a full heal from this. It's gonna hurt you a little bit beforehand, but that actually just enables it to like do a bit more damage. But then eventually its self-damage, because it increases every turn, is going to become so large that you can no longer feasibly use it. You know, if the enemies are hitting you, you have 60 health left, do you now want to fire something that's going to take away 40 of your health? Like, risk it for that full heal? Maybe you do. I don't know. It depends on your loadout.
So
Those are kind of like the interesting decisions that we're aiming for.
So if I hit a bomb with the vampire orb, because my brain, I'm stumbling over that. The damage that I get from my relics would count as the damage of this orb, correct? So if I deal 300
But you
damage,
you have a really nice combo there with the gunpowder, where the gunpowder is going to clear pegs around your bombs for you. So then you're going to get some more healing every time you pop a bomb. Ideally enough to override blowing yourself up. That being said, maybe this isn't as good of a combo as I thought, because the bombs are going to go off before your heal goes off. So that's the only risk there. You're going to take some damage from the Nosferatu, take whatever bombs are popped, and then get your heal. Which is good so long as you don't dip too low.
So what you're saying is, if I don't carefully manage this, my candle will shed not a brief but lovely glow, but an incandescent nuclear blast, and then we'll be back at the main menu?
Exactly. With both the Bob Orb or the Nosferatu. Both of those are pretty self-destructive.
We going boom. Don't go in the middle. Don't, thank you. That would have been tragic. All right, so Crash, tell me a little bit about how you kind of went about the music on this stage, because you mentioned that there was kind of the nice like marimba and you were going for kind of foresty vibes in the first area. What was your thought process in kind of coming up with the music for this stage?
I think the very beginning of it was just me having played the demo God knows how many times, because I'm just totally in love with this game. Like, I would play it like 4 or 5 times over and then be like, okay, I have a pretty good idea of how this feels, and then start to write music for it. And then I'll catch myself playing it for like 3 hours and I'm stuck in it. And like, I've seen the forest through and through. And so we finally move on to this castle area, and I got this like overwhelming sense of like progress. You know, obviously because we're making progress in the game, but also like having an entirely new area and seeing this game come to life really brought that like real feeling of progress. And it was so exciting for me because this is absolutely the biggest project I've ever worked on. So it's super rewarding. And I wanted to really like evoke that same kind of feeling of like, you know, you're this tiny little goblin, you're trekking through unknown lands, and you're really like feeling the progress that you're making. You're discovering new things and trying out new combos, and you know, I really wanted to evoke that. So I took a lot of the same instruments that I had from the first song, so that there was some familiarity that the player would have with, like, you can still hear the marimba in there, the melodies are still present, and then there's a couple instruments that are the same. But I wanted to add like a little bit of, you know, what's the word, forebodingness to it. So, you know, we have the electric guitar in there that just kind of grunges in the background every so often, and then the melody is a little bit meaner sounding. And you'll notice actually that sometimes the melody will be pushed back by a synth in the background, and so it was kind of demonstrating that there's like a little bit of pushback against your character. You know that there's now the obstacles in your path are now like meaningful. You know, they're starting to get scary, and that you have to put effort into pushing past them, so you get that musical feedback of the challenge. And you might find that a little bit more in the boss song here, but we'll see if this build takes you that far.
I
hope it does. I
want to
really
make
hope it
sure
does.
I didn't miss what just. Did they just heal? Are there healers?
There are indeed healers, yep.
love
When we
it.
first put these in, they caused such a stink in our closed beta pool. It was hilarious. Like, people actually threatening to quit the beta because they were healing every enemy on the stage for 30 every single turn. And it was like, okay, like, I'm happy with where they are strength-wise, but I also understand why that would feel very shitty, especially if you're just kind of chipping away. So we did, like, make them attack and do some other things and like spread that out a little bit so it's not just like so in your face all the time.
That's a lot of buttons.
But yeah, that was a fun experience for sure.
Okay, so I would like. Okay, we may have made a mistake. That was a lot of damage. Okay, smart play would be to heal. No, we're not doing anything else. The next stage is yeah, no, we're good. I really
Depending on what you've got coming up, you could potentially upgrade the Nosferatu, which is upgrading a form of healing and also increases its damage. But like, you got to be a little careful now for sure.
See, this is what I'm talking about with the peg layouts. Like, would you ever have expected to see like Thwomp-esque like bricks just dropping down and then coming back up, and like just this kind of motion and the ingenuity that comes with all these things? It's just like, God, I always get so excited whenever I see this stuff. It's great.
So
Yeah, this one gave us some grief for sure. This one, like, is like the simulation is like a work of genius on Lucas's part, where you're like aiming to like see where things collide. It's like actually perfectly simulating the physics under the hood to like draw that line and show you your collisions. There's a relic that like gives you an extra bounce, so you can like see very precisely. And when we first started working on stages like this, they just like wreaked so much havoc with that system. They really required like some solid engineering to not just explode everything and be a complete nightmare.
Yeah,
the fact that they're in here and working is just like amazing.
Yeah, the prediction is probably one of the things I'm the most proud of. It's been tough to put it together, and it was originally the #1 requested feature. Every time I saw anyone talking about the game, there was a really high likelihood that would mention that the aimer wasn't precise, because before that, I don't remember what we had in place, but what we had in place was like a very simplistic version of prediction, so it wasn't actually accurate, and it's also very short. So putting the prediction system together took a little bit of effort, but it really paid off. It's probably one of my favorite contributors to the game. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, and it's taken some work to update it every time things change with layouts. every new idea Dylan comes up with, which obviously there's probably going to have to be some work done to the prediction system to actually make it work. But you know, it works. I'm super proud of it.
It's a bit of a back and forth for sure. Yeah.
So
yeah, and some of the bugs have been very, very funny. Like I remember one where with the lightning, there was a bug where like when we first put in the prediction system and you like were aiming your lightning, the fake lightning was zapping the real pegs. And so you're clearing pegs just by aiming at them. And it's like, hey, that ain't right. And then the other day we just fixed one where a little later on in the mines, there's black holes that obviously affect your physics as you'd expect. And if you enter the black hole, your orb gets destroyed. And when you were aiming at a black hole, it was like destroying your orb that was being aimed and like continuously rebuilding it. And it was just this like black holes actually wreaking havoc in our code. Like, what the heck? Not what I signed up for.
Is there something up with the? Yeah, is there something up with the? That makes me think that there's something up with the chances of the minigame coming up.
I'm gonna die.
Or Alchemist is just that
Here
lucky.
we go.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah, it's scary.
I'm gonna die.
I don't think you can win this. I think it's actually impossible because you have the gunpowder.
Oh yes, you're going to suffer so much. I think I think you might actually kill yourself at the first.
Go out kicking and screaming, man.
I'm scared.
Especially with the multi-ball just waiting.
Okay.
Nah, I'm very dead. I'm very deceased.
Oh, this is great.
Oh wow.
Oh man.
Hey, we almost made it.
So
Oh man.
my goal
Yeah.
when I realized the couple of bombs that were going off was, if I'm going, I'm taking everybody with me.
Well, you got the minions at least. That's
How
a
far did you
consolation
jump
prize.
that boss? Like, what is that? Half of its health is just gone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that one, it's just a matter of can you stay alive.
Yeah. Yeah, we do tell you when you once you know the fights. I guess this is a little bit of like the roguelike genre is just it's a fairly common thing, but we do tell you when you start which boss you're gonna face. You have all the map to tailor your build to that boss. So that's kind of like one of your goals probably during the run is going to be, hey, if the mole is the boss fight that's coming up right now, you might want to prioritize orbs that have targeting or that have piercing, so you can go through the tree, things like that.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, if it's a problem with the previous like boss relic, then like I would just say like personally, after playing around with it a lot, like I'm pretty happy with the balance of it. But I probably wouldn't take the Sapper Sack as my first boss. Just like now knowing what I know, it works really well in the mines, but there are things in the castle that you have to be very, very good.
You know that the minute I see kabooms again, I have no choice. If I don't get the Alchemist's Cookbook, then I'm fine. I won't take a build-centric bomb. A bomb-centric.
You might have
wow.
been okay if not for that. But that like so the bombs on that stage are now spaced so that they won't all immediately detonate themselves if you have gunpowder. They didn't used to be, and it caused a lot of problems. But now, unless you have other bombs spawning in, they're too far to like chain all of them. But with the cookbook, that just throws everything. Unfortunately.
So again,
I actually had a really funny bug on that stage. There's a relic as well, similar to the cookbook, but it lets your bombs respawn. And I had that relic, and I had the gunpowder. And now that stage, what's happening is anytime you hit a bomb, the game would just stop. And I couldn't figure out why for a while, because like it would freeze so hard that you couldn't get debug information out. It was just like in an infinite loop, and I had no idea what it was doing. And it turned out that like every time you hit a bomb, it would pretty much clear the entire board, including all of the refreshes. And the refreshes would immediately bring back all of the rest of the bombs that would just like detonate everything in a circle forever. And so I had to change the relic a little bit, much to my chagrin, where it now only brings back bombs like the turn after they've been thrown, which does make sense, but it did break my heart a little.
I kind of want there to be at some point, a year down the line, just some bonus event where it's just how many bombs can you explode? Like the more bombs you explode, the higher your score, and like I don't know, you get some like make it a mini game, like a question mark mini game where you like high score, and the higher the bombs you explode, the better your reward from it. Just because I want to be able to come back and blow up everything just because.
That's not a bad idea. You can get some crazy already with the relics that we have. You can get some crazy bomb making ability, and as long as you don't have the sapper relic, you are not going to kill yourself, and you're going to do some serious damage. Even without the currently like broken combinations that we have in development, those are some of the most powerful builds for sure. So yeah, you can have we can think about the ways that we can leverage that for sure.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I know that they're dangerous, but bombs are really starting to make me happy. I'm just saying. Nothing says loving like AoE.
They're normally not that dangerous. Just unfortunately, the sapper just brings the risk reward to a real dangerous place.
Yeah, I will say that like in the mines, the sappers appear as like a regular enemy, and there may or may not be like a sapper boss. In which case, you're dealing with sapper bombs anyway, and so having the sapper sack at that point is just kind of a bit of a damage.
Yep.
Not all of the bombs in the mines are sapper bombs, but a decent chunk of them are.
I can neither confirm nor deny I am pre-building in my head for the ability to make everything go kablooey again.
It's pretty easy right now. I would say that it's easy to get sucked into it because we just added so much of that content. I have some other like patches in my mind to kind of add, another suite of different types of relics. Like there's a slime mechanic in the game, which is really cool, but isn't really super viable right now. So adding some things to support that a bit more will help out a lot. And yeah, there's just a couple, we've only recently started adding content as like big bundles. And so bombs are one of the most like cohesive strategies that there are.
Gotcha.
But there are other things like you can make a crit build or a refresh build. There are different things, but we really want to like start building into that, especially when we go to introduce like actual classes and start like sectioning off different bits of content. We're not sectioning off because we're always going to have Peglin as just like a jack of all trades, which is nothing I've really seen another roguelike do because it just doesn't make sense for a lot of them. But for us, it fits the gameplay of just like, whatever, random, show me what you got. But then having subclasses that kind of scope down the content for easier synergy will help go along.
So tell me a little bit more about okay, so I know you said you've had a couple of updates. I know you guys also have a Discord. How much of your, I'm also tripping about the fact that was a bat and my brain realized it once I refreshed. How much of your feedback in terms of how you balance the game, different things you add, do you get from your Discord, or is it one of those things where you kind of just pre-warn everyone there and get their feedback just through kind of direct communication?
Definitely like a big part of it for sure. I'd say everything kind of goes through a couple of layers of testing and balancing. So the first one is just kind of, we play it internally and just like make sure there's no like super egregious bugs, everything's kind of working. And then we balance test it as much as we can. But the problem is that like, with a team of 4 and so much content in the game, there's always going to be combinations that like we don't test out firsthand and see like exactly how well or poorly they kind of combine. So the next stage of that is kind of to roll it to our closed beta. And these are Discord community members that have like reported a lot of bugs or like reported really specific bugs, whether it be like on Mac or like playing with a controller all the time. They kind of get brought into this secret fold so that the game can be released more polished to everyone. And then we've rolled like up to this point, we've kind of rolled everything out to the demo. The demo has been like our kind of open beta of the first area. And that's when we kind of spend a bit more time like watching YouTube videos or watching streamers when we catch them and just kind of seeing like combinations that we might not have hit yet. How well do they work, or are they well explained? Like, is there anything that's confusing players? So definitely everything kind of goes through these like different layers, and it's been working pretty well for us. There's the occasional misstep where like things maybe aren't raised by our closed beta testers, or they are, and I kind of brush them off, like, yeah, you guys are just being babies. It's not that much harder, whatever. And then it kind of hits the public, and it's like, oh, that was really hard. Really, eating a lot more health than I thought it would, and like, okay, maybe I'll walk that back a bit. Yeah, it's been interesting for sure. We're not a big studio. The whole studio is here. It's really like a ma and pa and friends affair, like a small indie game. So we don't have the numbers to just like throw at it and make sure everything is like perfectly tuned the first time. And so as long as people know that going into the demo or going into the early access, we're going to be iterating and adding and tweaking and stirring. Like by the end of this, we hope to have like this really concrete, tasty, polished game. But along the way, like there's going to be some bumps, and like you're going to run into 52,000 damage in one shot. It's fun when it happens the first time. It's not fun if that's the only way to win, or if it happens every single time and there's no challenge anymore. So it's definitely like going to be a work in progress for quite a while.
Gotcha. Okay. So there's a question that there have been a couple of questions that have come through chat, and I've been trying to get to them as well. But there's one that just jumped out at me that I have to ask. Voltergeist asks, how tall is the goblin? Are they a little shorty, or are they big like how goblins are usually portrayed? Is their height accurate to their pixel art's height compared to the enemies? This is an important thing inquiring minds want to know.
That is very important for sure. They are very small. For some reason, humans in our world are also very small. Like you kind of see that, like, the Peglin is roughly the same size as like the slimes and the spiders, and kind of like all of these like little mid-sized enemies. Definitely not human-sized. Just a small lad.
All right.
There's another important question in the chat, but I don't know if I'm ready to answer.
I've read that twice, and I'm like, hopefully Sienna doesn't.
Yeah, I'm deliberately avoiding that one.
Now I'm okay.
Yeah.
I will say that Peglins are non-gendered. Peglins in this universe just don't have gender. All of our text just uses like they them pronouns, and that was a pretty deliberate choice, just to like try to make that enter the general lexicon a bit more.
Gotcha.
Like the developers here, like we all have non-binary friends, and we would like to see them a little bit more represented.
Understand.
Clearly this isn't a game like about that experience.
Right.
There's like there should be more games like that, but none of us are really in the shoes to tell that. It's just in our own little way, we can just kind of start making that language a little bit more easily readable and a bit more ingrained.
I understand.
So
that.
Yeah, Peglins don't have genders.
Sienna,
They
if you don't mind,
actually reproduce by piling gold up in the shape of an effigy, and then that becomes a baby Peglin. This has been canon since the game jam.
Yeah, I remember this.
I thought it was just mitosis. I feel like I missed something.
I actually think I have a very well-crafted answer to that question. It depends on how many orbs you have picked up, because right now I am carrying 8, and I feel pretty endowed to fight. Now,
There you go.
Yeah, that's the word to use. Absolutely.
now, with that being said,
I would counter that with it's not the size of your satchel, it's how you use it.
yes, I agree wholeheartedly. And also how many things you've upgraded on the way.
Oh my god.
So one of the things that I really kind of enjoy, and this is something that I've realized I haven't talked about much. You guys all met during a game jam for the Global Game Jam, and I know that the Global Game Jam and Seattle Indies are very inexorably linked together. How much have you guys been able to kind of reach out into the other indie devs in the Seattle Indies area to kind of help with everything from just troubleshooting or bouncing ideas off of each other to like full-fledged, like, hey, you were working on this thing and I really liked how you did it. Can you kind of give me a little bit of insight as to how you made that happen? Is there a lot of like exchange of information within Seattle Indies, or is it mostly just kind of a supporting each other from afar type of environment?
No, the Seattle Indies is like just an incredible community. The Discord there is like one of the first places I turn if I run into a Unity issue. It's like I could be in like the Unity forums or Unity Discord or something, but just like I know people in Seattle that have just like run into all of the same problems. There's so many developers in there that are so happy and willing to like if nothing else, just like lend an ear and bounce ideas off of. If not, just like come to you being like, I had this exact same problem 4 months ago. Here is how I fixed it. It's just incredible. Yeah, I turned to Seattle first, and then I kind of like scope out from there to try and like solve these issues that I'm having. And as I kind of mentioned too, like the Round Guard devs are from Seattle, and we've met them at a bunch of virtual conferences. I haven't actually met them in person yet, but I've met them at a bunch of virtual conferences over the pandemic, and they have just been awesome. Like they are just like super friendly. Like they've totally helped like some of their solutions for maybe it's like, you know, everything like game wise, design wise that they might have run into, to like marketing. Like here's where we just like couldn't get our eyes on the game, or here's what worked really well for us. Like, it's been amazing. And I haven't chatted with the Slay the Spire devs too much, but they're also based in Seattle. Like Seattle is just like a roguelike cooking pot right now for some reason.
So one of the things that I've kind of seen with, you couldn't have hit that earlier. One of the things I've seen with Seattle indies that I think kind of really lends to a very strong kind of indie scene here is, you know, with having a lot of, really? I missed that? Okay, sorry. I'm sorry. With, you know, with indie dev teams being a lot smaller, right? Having a resource where you can kind of go to, it almost kind of expands your dev team in a way, because it ends up being like, yes, the Peglin team may be 4 people, but because you have this brain trust that you can reach out to, it almost feels like you have a lot more energy and a lot more feedback that you can kind of get. You combine that with, you know, the Discord of being able to have people test it and play it, and also things like the Seattle Indies Expo, which again gives you an additional ability to get eyes on the game, which of course drums up more interest, and the more interest that is drummed up, the more, you know, the more people you're getting in the Discord, the more people that are downloading the beta. So I feel like that's one of the best kind of benefits to this. But you also mentioned streamers, and I kind of want to ask about how you kind of go about finding streamers that are playing this game, because I know for a lot of the other indie games that I've played just on my own stream as a whole, it's always a nice feeling to kind of go through, you're playing it, you're really focused in on the game, and then you glance over and it's like, hey, I'm one of the devs from this game, and the answer to the question that you were just saying out loud is this. How much do you guys kind of seek out that kind of feedback, or those kind of experiences?
I would say a moderate amount. Like I've kind of heard mixed reviews from streamers on that point. Like some streamers are like very, very excited when a dev hops in and like, you know, can answer their questions and everything. And I found that other streamers are kind of annoyed by it. It's like, hey, you're kind of stealing my thunder here. Like this isn't your show. Like I'm sure I'm playing your game, but like that's not what this is about. And we don't really have a good like codified way. You know, it's not something that people put on their Twitch page of like, devs welcome, come on in. So I tend to lurk quietly unless there's like specific questions being answered that like I really think that like could or should be addressed. But other than that, like YouTube videos are just awesome, because it's like, you know, we can play them on like 1.5 speed and see everything that's going on and hear people's thoughts. And like I have like a Google, or not analytics, but like whatever that news thing is, where it like alerts you for keywords.
Yep.
So I guess like, you know, and it pops up YouTube videos, which is really helpful. So that's definitely the easiest way. It's just like pops a video up, like, okay, we'll just like take a look at it and balance through there. But yeah, wrapping it back to like the Seattle and like the indies, you know, putting us in contact with things like this and like the Seattle Indies Expo, like that has been super fun. Like we've been so heads down working on the game that like I wouldn't say that we've really searched out a bunch of like streaming opportunities yet. It's definitely something that we should do more of. But you know, when your only kind of marketer is also designer and working on engineering, you know, you just don't end up with as much time as you would like for sharing the game. So that is something that we're going to be looking at, especially like I guess next week, because we're coming up to launch here. As soon as we're like really solid on the next build, that's going to be like our first real big press push. So if you're another streamer in chat, feel free to send us a message, and we will add you to our little press list.
You see, Dylan, you see this, right? You see this.
It
calls to me. Whispers my name. Okay. Overwhelmer, Strange Brew, Echo Chamber.
Overwhelmer's a personal favorite, I'm not gonna lie.
I I mean, I kind of have to take.
Overwhammer, yeah, such a good one.
I have to take the bomb one because bombs deal more damage.
The build that you're playing, separate from the demo, also like the Bob Orbs got a glow up, so they now convert like long pegs as well. So they've gotten much better, and maybe haven't had the power balanced. Something to think about. I do see a question in chat about how we balanced out how long a run should take. And that has been a little bit of just like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. And a little bit of like, I would like it to be a little shorter than Slay the Spire. Like, Slay the Spire runs, I know they take some people like 20 minutes, but like a successful run usually takes me like an hour and a half, which is a good chunk of time. That's that's totally acceptable. I have no problem with that. But we're kind of angling this for being like baby's first roguelike. Like, I have no problem if that's how the game like comes to be seen. I have zero problems with that. And you know, we're gonna have difficulty options for people that really want to like crank that difficulty. We've already got the Crucible in production already. But yeah, like, so we're kind of aiming for like an hour. So. And something that's been nice having the demo out is that we've been able to kind of like, you know, see all these videos, see all these different playthroughs, see how long it takes for people just to get through the demo content, and then we can roughly multiply that by 3. And the demo usually takes about 15 to 20 minutes, and then the second and third areas are going to take a little bit longer.
Gotcha.
So I think we're pretty close to like our target of like 1 hour for a successful.
So you say it takes a little bit longer. Depends on your definition of longer, because I blew myself up really fast, so that didn't seem like it took very long at all.
Well, you still got to.
You did have the speedy blow up build. That will definitely help.
You got to the end pretty fast.
But we're an hour and a half into this stream, and we're only halfway through, like a third of the way through a second run. So
Yeah, this is pretty consistent for sure.
Just to roll back for a quick second about the baby's first roguelike comment. I've found that a lot of the people that I've showed this game to, especially my parents who are not the biggest game players to sell it short, even they get a giant smile on their face when they see a couple of their relics on the left side like light up when they're active. I think that's a really big thing, is you get to see when your items do things instead of just seeing that you have the items, and that like it really sells like how often they're being used. And just, you know, stacking big numbers makes brain happy. It's great. It's awesome. So I'm particularly excited about this game being both depthful and like adventurous in that it's a roguelike, but also having the potential to appeal to pretty much anybody. Like, you can put this in front of anybody and they can get the general idea of Pachinko pretty quickly. So I think it's really nice that we get to touch on both audiences in some way or shape or form.
that's the nice thing about that physics gameplay for sure. Very, very approachable. Also,
Totally,
I'm terrified right now.
Yeah.
That is exactly what happened.
It's back.
It's back!
I'm gonna look at what the other two do. I'm gonna give them at least a chance.
Yeah, let's take a look at your deck. Let's see if we can build some synergy going. But you do have the relics in it.
So improved catalyst makes my bombs go bomb bigger. Echo chamber, all attacks deal 10% of the previous attack's damage. So if I get a big bomb turn, I can then get a really big follow-up turn that won't hurt as much.
Doesn't count bombs, I would say.
Okay. So now that I know
just the attack damage.
Okay.
Maybe that should be said.
And then strange blade.
Yeah, I will say that like the Echo Orb plus the Sealed Conviction is a really strong combo, just because like the Echo Orb hits everything, and now you've got a 2/3 orb that's gonna hit it.
Okay.
That's not too shabby.
Okay, we're not doing that. That.
Yeah, I think the most consistent one here would be the Sealed Conviction for sure.
That seems
The
like
multi-ball, that one is a little bit of a double-edged sword, because you have to have really high damage for it to be worth it. Otherwise, your shots will be doing 0 damage.
So it looks like Sealed Conviction is the clear and obvious choice here. However, Operation Peglin Bang Bang Splody Pow requires Sapper Sack to get off the ground.
You do have the synergy, I'll give you that. You don't have the thing that's going to blow up too many bombs this time.
Yep.
You create, a few more bombs, so even if you start with levels that don't have bombs, you're not going to be hamstringed.
I thought about
feeling
this.
a little better about it.
Yeah, I thought
Just
about
make sure
this.
that you get those healing options.
So I would like to say I actually thought this one through before I lit the fuse on the bomb, and I have to. I'm sorry. I have to now. But like I don't have the book now, so I shouldn't immediately, instantaneously explode. It should take a little bit of effort this time for me to blow up now.
Not immediately, no.
I would just say, like, if you open a chest and it offers you, like, the bombulet, probably don't take it. I wouldn't take the bomb. It doubles the amount of bombs that appear on a board by default, and so there are some boards that will just sorry, I missed it. Which boss are you fighting this time?
Let's check.
It's the Ballista, like, okay, that's because that guy is weak to bombs. That's
Is he now?
Well, I mean, everything is weak to bombs, it's
Including
just
me
that
currently.
we have so many bombs that he's going to blow you up. That's really all.
Yeah.
Every
Yeah,
enemy
this might be
this
a better one.
Technically, everything is weak to explosions because if you are a carbon-based life form, you are weak to explosions.
There you go.
I'm also being very reserved and not going straight for the explosion. Okay. Oh, don't you dare pop back up and hit that one.
Oh yeah, the Inferno will light them up.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's funny with the bombs because you kind of get into anti-save. You really have to ride that line.
You know what? No. We're gonna play this one super smart. Because I want to be able to. Don't do this to me. I want to be able to see the next stage, and so that requires me to not explode myself. So we're gonna try really hard to not explode ourselves on purpose.
Sounds good.
On purpose. Now I can't say anything about how the chips may fall in a different way. You are very fast. I need you to back all the way up. We talked about this last time.
These are probably my favorite enemies. I had to put so much work into like making them like hop and smack and everything, and it just like
Yeah, the animation also looks really good.
It's very close. Sir, I need you to not be so close. Let chaos reign! That was not near as much chaos as I thought it was going to be. I'm a little disappointed in the lack of chaos there. Alright, well, there's one easy way to fix that.
That's the only tricky thing about locking into the sapper sack and having to take the heals instead of upgrades is because, like, if you could upgrade the Bob Orb, that's a lot more bombs. But you're taking your foot off the healing gas to get there.
I mean, we've already established. I throw caution to the wind regularly, so it's not like I'm not gonna upgrade the bomb.
I will say that for the castle mini bosses that are in there right now, your loadout should work pretty well.
Yep.
So none of these. Okay, so my thought process as I'm playing, none of these orbs seem to really jump out at me as things that like help my build in any way. So it seems like a very obvious choice to healing. And I know some people in chat are like, just heal. I was going to. I'm just explaining my thought process before I hit the heal button. You should add an orb with something to do with a pet dog for the Peglin that allows you to just run through pegs with a straight path. Though it should have some lore explaining the size, or maybe a relic that allows you to target whoever you want instead of an orb. Okay.
If you can't pet the dog orb, then I don't want it.
That's gonna be the problem that comes with that, because if you can't pet the dog,
Yeah.
then it just then it
I'm
doesn't.
not gonna lie. There's like that Twitter account, like, can you pet the dog? And
Yeah.
I've been trying for
Thinking of
months to like ham fist in some kind of like, you can pet the dog, but it's like, what? I'm gonna create a scenario where it's just like, will you pet the dog? Yes or no? So it's like, I just haven't.
Yeah.
I hid something behind a waterfall. I did that one, but I haven't figured out the dog without it being super cheesy.
I mean,
Yeah, it has to be a payoff. There has
Yeah.
to be like a chain of events that leads you to pet the dog eventually.
And I also like, I don't want it to be like a wolf that's just gonna eat you. I know we do a lot of mean things, but that's
Yeah,
pretty.
no, it has
that's
to be a
dumb.
cute dog.
it has to be actual doggo, not feral doggo, so that there's you know, a bit of payoff to have pet doggo with you. I'm as a. There we go. All right, and a crit. Okay, that's good. Zap. All right. So you mentioned about different classes. I know that that's one of those things that's kind of a difficult thing to balance, because people end up having certain builds that they're kind of used to, and then you know this new class system comes along and kind of changes, you know, what is possible for. Oh, come on. Okay, well, we're not healing. We're not healing. We're upgrading the bombs. I'm sorry. I don't make the rules here. Okay, technically I do make the rules here, but the point is,
I made the rules,
Yeah.
and they're getting crapped on. It's horrible.
listen. I tried so hard and got so far. But in the end,
Yeah, so yeah. When it comes to classes, that's something that we've always been a little on the fence about, because especially for this type of game that's like pretty approachable and like just, you know, it's kind of very fun and random, and like we've embraced that kind of semi-randomness in the form of the physics and everything. So I didn't want it to be like too much just like, I'm going to play this class and it's going to work exactly like this. So as I kind of mentioned before, like we'll always have Peglin, and Peglin will always have like 99% of the content. Like each class might have like a special orb and a special relic or two, like maybe a couple of small pieces that are only available to them, but everything else is just going to be under this like Peglin hood. And if you're like, I don't want to think about what style of gameplay I want to play until I get into the run and see what I'm offered. I just want to combine everything, like it's whatever I get. And we were like I kind of mentioned, we were on the fence about it. We were never going to put classes in unless we got to the point where we had so much content that synergy just became like impossible. And we're kind of starting to get there a little bit now. You're getting a lot of relic offers that are just like, this means nothing to me. A lot of orb offers where it's like, I don't want this. This doesn't really do anything for me. So that's kind of something that like now is kind of where we're going to start drawing the lines and being like, here's a face rolly paladin style class. Here's a sneaky rogue class that's going to, you know, use blind effectively. Blind did get a buff. It's a bit more useful now, but, you know, it's actually going to be like an effective build around it. And then we haven't finished the last two yet. Well, obviously we haven't finished any of them yet, but like it's going to be something like a kind of tinkerer that messes with bombs and is horribly explodey and you know, self-destructive. And then probably some kind of mage. And for that one, I think I'm going to do some like weird puzzle questy things where like all the pegs are colored and there's different colors of mana or something. Okay. Again, we're still like, these are just rough ideas for now. But yeah, we've got a lot of room to like play around.
I'm making my request now. Please name the exploded class Alchemist, please. The Alchemist cookbook is already there.
I think I have.
Yeah.
I think
we
you
have to
paid
now.
for that in blood. So
Basically legally mandated at this point.
I mean, it doesn't have to be me Alchemist, but just an Alchemist. I'm okay.
I mean, yeah, the cookbook is right there, so
Mhm.
You heard it first, Chad.
it could be that the mechanic that the alchemist is around is related to the cookbook. It's just that the cookbook is the mechanic to everybody else.
Yeah, I think like Alchemist or Tinkerer or something, and it'll all be about bombs and probably about like pegboard buffs, things that are just like modifying things. Those are my favorite effects in the game. None of them have really been given the like power glow up that they deserve yet. Like I was mentioning, the slime is like in there and it works, but it doesn't have like the exponential scaling that a lot of other strategies have. So some more stuff will be coming for that for sure. We have healing slime in the game, but there's only one relic that applies it, and so you just rarely see it. It's like, why is this not an orb? You know, I want more regular, consistent healing, and I'm okay to get a little slimy to do it.
Wow. Based on my predisposition to making things explode, I also agree with you that there should be more healing, but that's because I apparently did not know I was a pyromaniac. So, you mentioned that the ballista is weak to bombs, and that's a thing that I'm definitely going to want to kind of ask more questions about. But I do have a question for Lucas based on what I was just seeing. How difficult was it to make a stage where you had the pegs kind of flash in and out? Like, that was something I hadn't seen in any of the levels I had played so far. So I'm curious to know kind of what went into making that.
That was Dylan, actually. That's most of the Peglin mechanics are his doing. I can tell you.
I hack a lot of stuff in and then ask for permission. When it comes to like layout, you know, it's really like off the cuff and a lot of experimentation. So you don't really have the luxury of like going back and asking if this will work and everything. You just kind of have to try it sometimes.
Yeah.
Some of them have worked and have been very nice and smooth. Like, I don't think the flickering pegs gave Lucas any grief at all.
No.
And other ones have been very, very painful. We regret a few of those. But
no, but it's honestly like been, you know, like with every single programming project I've ever been involved in, you make a lot of decisions at one point, and you don't have the complete picture of what these things are going to do. So there's a lot of adjusting. There's a lot of adjustment on the go that you're doing as you're building a thing. Like, a lot of systems that we built a year ago were not built to support the kind of stuff that we're doing now. So a lot of things require a lot of rewrite or readjustment. Like, just a simple act of showing multiple special pegs was giving us a lot of grief. So I had to like rewrite the whole system for how we use that, how we show that in the peg board a couple months ago. So yeah, every little thing, like some things are like come free with how things are built, but some other things like really are pushing up against the things that you thought you were building towards a year ago.
I'm not a fan of healers. So I have a question for Sienna. When it came to designing our protagonist, you said that it kind of came from an asset pack. When it came to adding in things later on, were there any moments where you kind of had an idea for something that you really, really wanted to make work that required a little bit more art in terms of just the design of it?
I guess everything that we've come up with so far has been mostly Dylan or team's ideas. There's nothing that I thought of that I really, really needed in there. I guess I would maybe think that like the boss probably required the most amount of heavy lifting and time from this pixel art noob. And we really wanted something that looked like a nice juicy boss with a lot of neat animations and stuff, and you can't always get those in asset packs. So usually those were like, oh, we've got this mechanic in mind and this vibe in mind. Let's make something. So it's hard to find asset packs for those. We usually make those our own. And
I mean, most of the enemies now are fully bespoke. The biggest use of asset packs, I would say, is like some tiles and then relics, and that's nice for me in the designer mind, just to like grab a relic and run with it. But yeah, a lot of the bosses, like the brick slime was fully custom, or, you know, all the different states of jumping in air and smashing, and the ballista, which you'll see in a little bit,
Maybe.
has all its little minions that all work together and are doing stuff. The demon wall, that's a cool one. Not really like special mechanics other than the fact that it launches you. But yeah, there's lots of really fun stuff with the enemies. That's probably our biggest like art endeavor.
Yeah, the mole, I think I want to highlight as one of my favorites in terms of the entire...
The diving and everything,
The diving, the whole animation.
And the slime when it eats you and does the little wobble that I digest. I like that. Okay, so the reason that I said that this guy is weak to bombs, he's not like, he doesn't take extra damage or anything, but he's got these little minions that are going to get in your way. So your bombs are going to just like clear them really nicely. And so being able to create more bombs is going to keep them out of your way. That's about it. And a little less health. So you only need to pop 10 bombs, but you don't have enough health for that. So as long as you can layer some damage on top, it should be okay. It's a bit of a low health to get into this fight. I have faith.
So
fingers crossed.
One of the things that's helping out is Overwhelmer is basically letting me, as long as I do over 50 damage, I take out the first guy and still deal damage to the ballista. So it lets me kind of slowly kind of build up my damage until something like this happens.
What's funny is we gotta wait. Okay. Oh wow, I can't believe no bombs detonated. It's cringing a little bit. Crit.
Now it's time to go for the big crit. Don't hit the don't.
It's got the same.
Holy crap! So chat, in case you were unaware, catching a ballista bolt with your teeth is not covered by your dental at Peglin University.
It hurts a little bit.
Unfortunately, the bombs do not blow up the ballista bolts.
I'm so ready to see the mines.
I was too.
Just sent a debug build where you can just like teleport there.
No, because then it won't feel the same.
It won't feel the same. That's true.
Yeah, you got to have a natural loadout getting there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Game, stop. Why do you, okay? I can complain directly. Listen. I am really trying to kick my bomb addiction, and then you keep handing me stuff that says, "Hey, I know you said you were trying to kick the bomb addiction, but would you like some more bombs to go with your bombs?"
2/3 that's a rude selection right there.
Yeah, it's explodey popcorn. I mean, okay, I have to. All right, so we're getting close to the end of the time here. So I am going to focus on trying to speed run through this as quickly as I can. If there are any things you would like to tell our lovely viewers about Peglin, about Red Nexus Games, about each of you individually, now would be an excellent time to plug all of those things, all of your social medias, all the things that you were doing, while I try to speed run my way back to at least the boss of this one. Ready?
That's great. I would say the biggest thing is that like we've got early access coming up in like 2.5 weeks now. Like it is right around the corner, April 25th. That's really exciting. Everything that's visible in here and more. The mines and the mines have some of my favorite peg layouts in the entire game. The mines are kind of this eldritchy pit of horrors, and so I was really just able to go just like really nuts on all of the different gimmicks. We've got those flickering pegs that we saw in one spot. There's black holes all over the place. I'm thinking about making some like fabric mechanics. That's something that we can kind of do, and just like some weird things. So that's going to be very, very fun. And when you get to that level, when you have like multiple boss relics, things just go completely ham. They just go buck wild. And like, I will say that like the game at that point is not very balanced right now. It is skewed so far in the player's favor that it's not even funny. Like you can just hit for like 10,000 damage and wipe out any monster at any time. But that is something that we're working on. We're working on really hard. So if you're like okay with a weird arcadey, very rapidly changing experience, early access day one is going to be for you for sure. Other than that, I think that's pretty much it. The demo is available on Steam. You can go play the forest right now. No other content is locked behind it. There's a few big changes in this build that we're playing today, but that'll be going out to players sometime this next week. We're essentially just in the bug testing phases right now. So thank you for that, Alchemist. It's been great. No major explodey bugs aside from the ones that we brought upon ourselves. So it's all good.
I appreciate you adding that in, because I was going to say, no, there have been some things that have exploded. You told me you thought this build might explode. I just...
Working as intended.
Yep. Completely working as intended. Just dropped the pillow on him. Just didn't know that I was going to be the thing that caused everything to blow up.
It's worth it. It's worth it.
Oh, I'm proud of myself.
Other than that, we have a pretty active Discord server. Kind of mentioned it a few times throughout this, where like our Discord server is so integral to like helping us balance the game and everything. We had been working on the game for like a few months at the time, or I guess like, you know, it had started picking up steam and like people had started joining the Discord and like creating tier lists and stuff. And it was just something that like completely blindsided me. I just never thought of like making a game where people are going to make tier lists for it. And those are actually like so helpful. I'm so happy every time somebody posts one, because we get to take a look at it and be like, what is the perception of these relics? Because it's not always necessarily these ones are good and these ones are bad, but the perception of them can be really skewed in one direction or the other. And then it always kicks off big conversations. You know, people are always like, how dare you put my favorite relic at the bottom of this list? Like, it is so good in these 10 scenarios. And often the original person is like, oh, I didn't think about those scenarios. I'm gonna have to try that. Like, and we have like, in the game so far, we don't have a menu to like go and create custom loadouts, but we have an active modding community that just like came in and like made that so that you can just like configure that. Like, the Discord is just above and beyond what I would ever have hoped for, and it is just amazing. So if you download the demo, if you take a swing at it and you're like, yeah, I'm into this, definitely hop into the Discord, say hi. Very friendly group. The modding scene, the localization, everything has just been incredible.
Yeah, I wanted to add myself. I wanted to shout out the community. It's been super great to see grow up from a Discord where it was only us and some very, very few people like trickled in to something that is pretty much very active without us saying much. It is really, 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 really heartwarming, and like it makes it all worth it in the end. It makes it all
makes it a lot easier to like turn on the computer every day and add features, knowing that like 100%. The minute you push that out, people will see it. Like, that just helps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been pretty much the reason I'm working on this project at this point. It makes it all worth it.
Because we're not paying him, so.
Exactly.
Until the game comes out, nobody's getting paid. It's as easy as you get.
But like, not kidding at all. It's been fantastic. The reception has blown me away. It's been beyond what I was expecting when I joined the project.
I think I accidentally sent you the bomb build.
I'm starting to listen. One time is a coincidence. Twice, maybe I just made poor decisions. I have seen the little bomb relic more. You know what? I know what you should name your bomb build. I know what you should name your bomb character. It has to be EOD. It has to be EOD.
There you go.
Because with as often as I have seen the bomb symbol on relics, I feel like I should be just applying for EOD school right now.
Well, you know what to say, 3 times is destiny.
True. I can see that. I also want to get a Peglin shirt, him holding a bomb, and on the back it says,
"Oh my God,
squad, if you see this, you're moving too slow."
I need to start working on merch, actually. What I want more than anything in the world is just like a little Peglin plushie, and I want like a little stealth satchel on there that like opens and closes, and I want them to sell it with like 3 bouncing balls. And I don't know who will make these plushies for us, but I must find them. I must make this.
Whenever you figure out how that's going to work, send me a message on Discord or email, or I smoke signal. I don't care. Let me know. I will 150% get one of those, and I will set it back here on my pantheon of stuff on top of the swordfish. Happily.
If anybody knows a person who's willing to stitch like 1,000 little peglins, send me a message. Otherwise, poor Sienna's gonna have to do it.
All right, in the interest of saving Sienna, I will also try to see if we can find someone in someone's community so that Sienna's not sitting there going, and next time I see him, I'm gonna beat him up.
I do know, like, the Frog Detective devs made a bunch of little Frog Detective plushies. I need to go find that plot.
Yeah. Yep.
They worked with like
want one.
Fangamer or something, and Fangamer took these like adorable pictures of like the little Frog Detective plushie like in a little boat out on a pond. It's like that is going the extra mile. That is fantastic.
Yeah, I definitely want a little Peglin plushie for sure.
I definitely want a Peglin plushie. And yes, he has to have bouncy. Sorry, they have to have bouncy balls. If they do not have bouncy balls, we're right.
Yeah, the little satchel to keep them in, and then that's it.
See, now bombs don't hurt, so now I can hit every bomb I want.
There you go.
Now you want all the bomb generation. Now you want the cookbook. Now you want the food. And then you can bring those back in Act 3 and then try. And there has been a relic. I've been trying to think of a way to not just shamelessly steal it from Slay the Spire. But there's they have a relic which is like reduce damage from all sources by 1, and that would be so useful to help tamp down on the sapper stack. So I'm willing to put that in there. I don't want to like shamelessly, copy it.
So
I think Risk of Rain does something similar with the armored plate. It just flat reduces damage from all attacks. I can actually think of a couple of games that pull something like that.
Yeah, it's not that far-fetched for sure.
Yeah, I mean, ideally we make it a reference because this game is like chock full of references. Like one of the things that you can find that's monster training, and I'm particularly proud of that one. But we also reference just like things that I don't expect anyone to get ever, and that's kind of okay. Like there's a healing pendant that you can get, Rallying Heart, and that one is just a reference to like a local indie game made in Vancouver. It's actually quite big, but Art of Rallying. And so it's like, here's your Rallying Heart, which is a healing relic, and it fits thematically. The name works great, but it's also a reference to one of my friend's indie games that is great little indie.
I think personal favorite was Wall Chicken.
Yeah,
Wall Chicken is one that I never expected to see anywhere ever again. And I came up and I was like, Dylan, what? You were like, got it.
As a huge Castlevania fan, when I saw Wall Chicken, it was an immediate like click. I don't know what it does. I don't care what it does. It's Wall Chicken. Wow.
Yeah. The nice thing about the food relics is there's so much legacy of like food in games that it works really well. So like we've got Wall Chicken. I just straight up added like well done steak, and we had a sprite that was just like the Monster Hunter well done steaks. It's like, yep, that's perfect. Plop it in there. Yeah, things like that are just great.
So I said I was gonna get to the first boss before the end of the stream.
There you go.
I am at the first boss. We are going to try kill the first boss.
Hi.
Well, 3 minutes. I'm sure you can
Not as much targeting this time, but I think he can do it.
He hasn't seen the slime boss, unfortunately.
Oh yeah, the RNG has seemed really strange in this build.
I'm
sure it's just
understand
coincidence,
that
but-
when the stream is over, after I get done like making sure that the VOD is downloaded and making sure everything's good, I am 100% going to be playing more. Like let's make sure there's no confusion here as to what my goal is going to be. So there will be more. I will more than likely see. There will more than likely be. I will see a slime boss, and then Dylan will receive a message on Discord with something to the effect of, "What is that?"
I love the slime boss so much. Its peg lore is just fantastic.
Yeah.
For a very long time in the game's history, it just had like a generic Pachinko peg board for like such a long time. And then I finally just like went in and went ham on it. It's filled with slime. It like creates more slime. There's bombs tucked in corners. People hate
it changes.
that.
It changes.
I will tell you, it is never changing. I love it.
Yeah, it also changes when you get eaten. That's also a really nice touch.
Wait,
Yeah,
it
just
does?
Yeah,
Well, I guess
yeah,
I haven't
the-
gotten trapped
the-
by the time that changed.
your shot starts from inside the little orb slime. Yeah, in the pecker. Yeah, it's really smart. The storytelling that is communicated through the pecker is actually really cool. I really like it.
I try to do a lot of that, even if it's subtle in some areas.
Yeah.
But like how difficult I make the navigation of the text scenarios is directly related to like what has happened in that scenario.
Yep.
There's one that's just like you're in a sunny clearing, like it's nice here, and there's nothing in your way. You can choose wherever you want to go. You know, there's things like that. There's like an altar sitting there, and the altar sits on the board like a chest does, where you can just aim to either side. It's not actually in your way. It's just, it doesn't even need to be there, but there's an altar there, so it sits there in the thing. And then there's other ones like the slimy path, where it's like, I don't know if I'm gonna get out of here going in the direction I want to. This is a slimy path. I'm knee deep, and it's slippery. Like I'm
Oh, I think you hit up on a really good build now.
So that was a lot of bombs. And because I didn't take the sapper sack, I didn't, explode with it. So now we just chucking bombs, chat. Like that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
It is a very fun build to
the
go.
Pegnus.
One to full bomb.
Yeah, the Pegnus is pretty good for this.
Now the bolt orb I have will also power that up. Oh, okay. All right, chat. I know you want to see if I'm going to blow myself up again. But if you want to see more about what's beyond the castle, you're gonna have to go and pick up Peglin for yourself. Now, you can find it on Steam. I'm sure there have been links in the chat, but I will make sure that there is an additional link in the chat for it, because I genuinely think that everyone needs more Pachinko Peglins in their life. That's just me. I might be slightly biased, but last thing I want to do. Crash, you mentioned your music. Where can people find your music?
As of right now, the best two places to find my tunes are kicking around on Spotify at Crashdroid, and then on Newgrounds, also at Crashdroid. Bandcamp is under production right now. I'm giving it a bit of a revamp at the moment.
Gotcha.
It's at Crashdroid, in case I didn't. It's Crashdroid.
Well, in the interest of making sure that you are everywhere, I need
Oh, let's throw it in chat.
That's what I was gonna say. There.
And I am seeing a question here. Did we make the first fight only give you new orbs as a choice? Yes, we did. Yeah, that was something that was long requested and something that we just kind of like kept rushing away, because roughly like a month or 2 months after early access release, we're planning on releasing like a big new change that's going to introduce like currency and a store and like allow some things that are going to let you like tamp down on the RNG a little bit, picking a relic that you want to buy, picking orbs that you want to buy. And as part of that, you're going to be able to choose if you want to upgrade or add a new orb for the cost of currency after battle, which you'll get from battle, obviously, instead of just being given a random option each time. But yeah, it finally came down to like, okay, this isn't coming for early access release. This is something that's like super requested all the time. Nobody wants to like see that upgrade a dagger thing for the 900th time. So yeah, we've hard coded it for now to just like always grant a new orb in the very first fight that you do in the games. And we are super receptive to feedback, and like players like send us things. Like we look at everything. We're looking at the forums, we're looking at Twitter, we're looking at our Discord, especially for sure. If you have feedback about the game, like we will see it and we will listen to it. And I may not always agree with it, but if I hear it enough times, then like I will know that something needs to change. Maybe not necessarily what's being asked for, but something is wrong and something needs to change. So just keep that feedback rolling in for sure. That's why we're doing early access and not just launching the game and being like, here's what we built, it's done. It's very much going to be a collaborative experience.
As long as the feedback is respectful and not shouting things every day.
Gonna say,
oh yeah,
Be nice.
We will ban
nice.
you if
You've
you're
been nice
being
so
a jerk.
far.
But
Yeah.
our tolerance is pretty high for like people coming frustrated after a run and being like, this relic in particular is bullshit. It blew me up twice. I didn't get to see the mines. I need less damage. And we'll be like, maybe you need less damage. Maybe you need more.
If you get that feedback, send them to me, and I will tell them the only way to build up resistance to bombs is to blow yourself up with smaller bombs to build up a tolerance to the bigger ones. That's just how it works.
Call it explosion
Absolutely,
therapy.
100%.
It is 100% explosion therapy. Well, guys,
Explosion therapy.
thank you so much for joining me on today's Seattle Indie Stream. Thank you to the lovely devs at Red Nexus Games, Adam, Lucas, Dylan, and Sienna. Hope you guys enjoyed yourself on the show. I hope you guys enjoyed watching me blow myself up over and over and over again. And I'm just looking forward to seeing more of this. And I'm looking forward to maybe, streaming it a little bit myself and not blowing myself up or creating the ultimate bomb that cannot be defeated or stopped by anything. Until next time, guys, take care of each other. Take care of yourselves.
Yes.
And those gloves up, all right, guys? Later.
Good. Thanks so much for having us, Kevin. This
Thank
has
you
been
so much.
amazing.
This was
Yeah,
a
thank you
blast.
again.